coming back for more, but I just can't let you go. No, I just can't let you go. Keep running through the same old rhymes, like a broken tape jammed on rewind. Still I just can't let you go. And I know I just can't let you go. 'Cause I've been thinking lately, possibly just maybe the shimmer between us could be something perfect. Two broken pieces rising off the floor, just right, like water to the shore. Yeah, you were broken like a light through the longest tunnel I knew. Mirage, you the real thing, no matter when your heartstrings inside. Funny thing, I was good with me, before you came along, jumped right in, made it hard to see a life without you again. Been here so many times before, something always keeps us coming back for more, but I just can't let you go. No, I just can't let you go. Keep running through the same old maps, like a broken tape jammed on rewind. Still I just can't let you go. No, I just can't let you go. But nowadays you take all the things that I say, keep misunderstanding, counting up the damage. Seems like every move you're hitching for a fight. I just wanna love you right, and every time it's harder, distance it gets farther, straining out to touch you. You give me cold shoulder, make me question what I am and what I'm worth. Then turn around, tell me that's not supposed to hurt. I know you'll be coming around, and I know you'll only bring me down. Even so, same old story. I know I can't let you. I know you'll be coming around, and I know you'll only bring me down. Even so, same old story. I know I can't let you go. Been here so many times before, something always keeps us coming back for more, but I just can't let you go. No, I just can't let you go. Too rude.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second edition of Everyday Faith. This is your host, Eric Chen, and today we have an amazing artist, Mesmi. She's an Asian American artist of Taiwanese descent. And recently, I've dealt with some students and talked to some people who, during this pandemic, is really struggling with their mental health. And I came across an article that especially for Asian American young females aged between 15 and 24, according to the Department of Health and Human Services, that age bracket has the highest suicide rate among that age group. So I just want to bring that to everybody's attention, and that to take mental health very seriously. It's very easy for that to be stigmatized in our community, and to reach out to someone you know who's in that age group and to be extra concerned with what they're going through because of the family expectations, cultural expectations, societal expectations, their own expectations. And it is my honor to talk to a fellow Asian American female artist, Mesmi. She just released her album, Slow Bloom, and we are going to bring her on right now.
Hey,
Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. How are
Well,
you doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much for coming on. How have you been doing during this pandemic? How is it? What's it like during as an artist during this time? Because obviously there's no gigs, right?
Yeah. All
I mean,
my
not live at least. I mean, in person.
right, totally. Yeah, all my previous gigs are on hold, and the in-person ones. And I guess it's just like a lot of people in this moment, where you're just trying to figure things out and trying to adjust to the current situation.
Mm-hmm.
Really quick, I kind of hear an echo. Is that just me?
I don't know. Let me see something.
Okay. But yeah,
Okay, how about now? Is it better? Is that
That's
better?
not the same, but it's okay. I'll just try to ignore it.
Okay, I'm sorry because I can't hear it. But
Oh, no worries at all. It's probably just something with the internet and the different sound systems. But yeah, so I do have some like random online things I've been live streaming, which a lot of musicians have been doing. But other than that, I mean, I can't complain. I'm really grateful for everything else that I have, and like all the people I know and love are okay health-wise, and so am I. So
well,
it's really
that's
good that way.
I mean, that's the most important thing because as they say, your health is your wealth.
Totally, it is.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I want to get to just help our audience and help everybody. Yes.
Alejandro is saying maybe mute the laptop because there is an echo. Thanks, Alejandro.
Yeah, the laptop is muted. Let me see. Yeah, I do have it muted. I don't know why. It could be my phone.
Maybe it's the phone.
Let me see. How about now? Is it better now or no? Same thing?
Let me see. Oh, I think it's still an echo, but
well, you're using. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. We're having some technical difficulties. Let me see if I removed my. How about now? Is it better now?
Let me see if it's I wonder if it's anything on my end that I can change.
Let me see. Now, is this better?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what you did, but it seemed to stop the echo.
I removed my headphones and I can still hear you. So I think it was my headphones.
Okay, that's so weird. But I'm glad it's okay.
Anyway, let's get to it.
Thank you guys for all the sound feedback.
People want to know more about you. So tell us about your background. Where did you grow up? Where are you from? And tell us about yourself.
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much to Eric for hosting the show and inviting me to be on it. I think it's a super cool thing to do. And I know you mentioned that your, I don't know if it was the first one or like a previous episode had a lot of viewers. So that's amazing. And I really appreciate you inviting me to share my music and tell my story. And hopefully it just helps people in whatever they need. But I'm Mesmi. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm based in Los Angeles currently. My background, the basics, I guess, are that I'm Taiwanese American.
Ooh, me too.
Yeah, I'm super proud to be Taiwanese American. I love my heritage, and it's something I really appreciate. The culture that I think, for me personally, it's like something I think I have to constantly learn about and come to understand more, being someone who my parents immigrated and I was born in the US. And we weren't like consciously taught a lot of our Taiwanese heritage. So that's why it's something I think I learn more and more over time. But yeah, I'm super proud to be Taiwanese American. Huh?
Did you eat any 粽子 for the Dragon Festival? Did you eat any?
A little bit, a little bit. My aunt gifted us some, so she made some, and I got to eat some. I think the day before, actually, I ate some zongzi.
Yeah,
But
for
we
the
call them bajang, right? Like Taiwanese style.
Bajang, yeah, Taiwanese Bajang. So for the viewers who don't know, it was the Dragon Boat Festival, and there's a whole story around that, and you can Google it, and you can see what we actually eat. It's kind of like, the best way I can describe it is like a tamale. It's like a Chinese tamale, but instead of corn in the inside, it's like rice wrapped in leaves. So
with fillings. It's not just rice.
yes, and there's rice. There's sticky rice. It's peanuts, egg, and meat, and there's all kinds of variations of it. So on that note, how does being AAPI of Taiwanese descent, how has that kind of shaped the content of your music, or how has that experience shaped you as an artist?
Let's see. So really quick, so I'm based in LA now, but I grew up as a kid on the East Coast, and then my family moved to the West Coast, kind of in the middle, and I bounced around a little bit. So
where were you in the East Coast, and then where did you land up here?
I grew up a lot of my formative years in Northern Virginia, really close to Washington, D.C. And then, because of my dad's work, we moved to the LA area, so kind of where I am now, San Gabriel Valley. And I went to part of middle school and high school, in a highly actually Asian populated neighborhood. And then, so that was actually a different change, because I was definitely in a majority white neighborhood as a kid. And then later for college and stuff, college and work, I was in Texas, and then I was in South Korea, and then I came back to LA after that. Yeah, so there was a lot of traveling in between, like post high school to several years ago and being back here. But that's just kind of like a little bit of geography for anyone who needs to place that. But sorry, to get back to your question. Oh, I like how I can see people's comments. That's really cool.
That's right, yeah. LA represent. We're the epicenter of music and entertainment, right?
It is. It's such an interesting city. To be honest, like I think because I moved here in the middle, and then later on I came back after college. It was really hard to like grow into loving LA at first. It took me a while. And I didn't realize like all the things I missed about the East Coast growing up until I was trying to figure out like, oh, why am I sorry.
I think I lost you for a second. Are you still there? Hello.
Hey, is it okay?
I lost you for a second.
Okay, I think I'm back. I think I'm okay.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I'm in my studio in North Hollywood right now, and I feel like the internet has not been super consistent for the past couple weeks.
We'll keep moving forward. So last you're saying that you really missed the East Coast. That's where you left off.
Yeah, but then so it took me a while to like get to know LA and really appreciate it for all the wonderful things it has, and I definitely do now. Like I love how diverse it is. I love if you have a car, you know, like you can really experience all the different nature and different parts of the city a lot easier than if you don't have a car. So I think coming back from college and getting used to and not being as scared driving around, you get to really experience all the richness and diversity that is really special to LA. So, hey Ken, so good to see you. Thank you so much. I love you.
So yeah, and what has it been like to pursue music as an independent artist?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't even answer your question about being Taiwanese and Asian American. Should I?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'll answer the indie artist one first. So being an independent artist, it's been really interesting. I think it's always been like a little bit of a mental and emotional tug of war for me. So personally, like I call myself like a closet creative, and I think fully accepting that I had this creative side and I loved art and creating art and wanted to pursue that. It felt really, it felt kind of taboo and like really difficult to accept and then like have the courage to actually do and try actively. So it took me a long time to come to terms with all of that. And so I think the part of the struggle leading up to it was like a lot of guilt, a lot of feeling of like,
Why guilt? Of all words, that's an odd word. Guilt. Why do you feel guilty for your art?
I think a lot of guilt in that, like, I think to try and pursue it as a career and full time, like, it felt really privileged and like I was like living and leaning into privilege almost, you know? Hey Becca. Sorry, am I allowed to say hi to the people who
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I love seeing people say hi. I think yeah, it felt like privilege and also like I think for me I love making things, but I also love people. And I have this very practical side of me that's like, oh, I want to be helping people. And a lot of the times, especially when you're starting out doing art, you don't really get to see the ways that what you create, how it's impacting or directly helping someone. Especially nowadays, you know, where like a lot of the stuff you put out is on the internet. And so I'd always feel like, oh, should I like be doing something else? Is this really the right thing for me to do? Or am I just like being self-indulgent and doing what I want to do and enjoying creating, but not really helping people in a way that's like more impactful or more directly going to really like make a difference, you know?
So you didn't really see kind of the significance or the difference you can make with your music.
Yeah, I think it's that tug of war because like I really thought about it really, really hard. Like I wrote this like manifesto for myself and I like really sussed it out in my head of like, why do I want to do this? Why do I think art is important? How has it impacted my life? And like I went through this whole thing and I was like, I know art is really valuable. Just like just the humanities in general, I feel like are really valuable, even if they don't have that direct correlation that you can quantify, like in a scientific laboratory research experiment. You know, like I do believe in the power of like story and creativity and a lot of these things that we can't see that deal with our emotions and our mental states and our ideas. But so I knew that going in, but I think I still always kind of struggle with like, what I'm doing, is it okay?
Well,
I still have guilt with it, yeah.
Think about, to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, there's a famous quote from Tony Bambera, and the quote is, "The role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible."
Yeah, I've seen that quote recently floating around. I love it. I love that
And
quote.
you know, I'm someone that likes to, you know, write and argue and dialogue, but I think art has a way of grabbing people's heart and really create that experiential change, and really because just the way that our left brain right brain works. And there's a book called, I think, The Elephant and the Rider, and it's talking about how
What's it called?
I think Elephant and the Rider, and basically the idea is that uh, it's very hard to convince someone to change their mind based on logic, and that our feelings and intuition is actually much more susceptible to influence and change.
Right.
And so, and that's where the role of music plays in shaping people and really touching people.
Oh, I like that. Thanks so much for that reminder. it's really nice to hear that, and yeah, remember that how much that is a part of our experience, and how impactful it can be. So yeah, that's the hope.
Now,
That's the hope.
did you want to go back to what you wanted to talk about, which is how being Asian American female of Taiwanese descent, how that's kind of shaped you or shaped your writing?
Yeah. So let me see. Being Asian American, I don't think it's like there isn't necessarily always a really clear through line in that, like, I'm gonna write every song about being Asian explicitly, you know?
Right.
I think there are artists who do that, and that's really cool. But for me, I think I do love I love my culture. I'm not like, it's not any time trying to hide it, but I think I also really love diving into like human experience. So I write a lot about more like universal um, language. I like leaving things open, like you said, to kind of like try and grab people. So there are certain songs that incorporate my culture and my background.
It's more embedded rather than explicit.
Yeah, I think there's a really interesting thing about being a minority, and maybe specifically about being Asian American, and even Taiwanese American, is that like you your face, right, can kind of be a barrier. And I think that's the thing a lot of Asian Americans have experienced in media and entertainment in general. And I know I've heard a lot of stories about Asian Americans in the 90s who were coming up, and even if they got like a label deal or a record deal, people, general like American society, you know, and a lot of white executives didn't know how to place them. And so the constant argument is like, your music is good or whatever, but we don't know how to market you. We don't know where you fit. I guess we'll call you white, you know?
Well, actually, you bring a good point, because did you know that Bruno Mars kind of back then he went by his name Peter Hernandez, and so when he played that one hit song "Just the Way You Are," which is a classic, the music executive said, "That's a really nice song, and I think you'd be really good for the Spanish market."
Wow.
So that's Bruno Mars. So and that's the song "Just the Way You Are." We know everyone knows that song. And even as talented as he is, as amazing as he is, as good looking as he is, just Peter Hernandez, I think is like I think it's Portuguese, Latino, and Filipino. And so the only way he had to overcome that was to change his name from Peter Hernandez to Bruno Mars.
Oh, interesting. I haven't heard that side of the story before.
Yeah, it's a true story that, imagine if he never got that chance, if he never changed his name from Peter Hernandez to Bruno Mars, he would never have appeared in the Super Bowl.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard a different side of that story. I think like when he tells it about choosing his name too, but I hadn't heard that kind of marketing executive comment for the Spanish market.
Yeah, it's true. Now I want to talk about your new album, because that's the hot topic of the day. Slow Bloom. Yeah, tell us, why did you decide to name it Slow Bloom, and what were your source of inspiration, and what's your message?
Okay, so the big question. So yes, the album is Slow Bloom. It just got released about a month ago, end of May. And
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Super appreciate it. So Slow Bloom, let's see. Okay, Slow Bloom, this doesn't have to do with the title, but I guess it's like consistent throughout this theme. It took a while to make. It took 2 years to make from production onward. That's not even counting songwriting. Like some of the songs were in maybe 5 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's definitely like long time coming. And And like, I think I was writing this answer to an interview the other day, and I was talking about like how the process of the album was, or no, I think I was talking about like the material of the album and the song matter and the themes were like kind of about growing pains, and overall the album is about, I think, the acceptance of pain as part of growth and part of the full life experience. Um, but that like how things take time as well. And then unfortunately, all those themes very much apply to the actual making and completing of the album. But
Yeah, it's a labor of love.
it's definitely a labor of love and torturous perseverance. But
you did it.
yes,
But you did.
I did it. And so a few things I think that contributed to that were like, I've released EPs and singles in the past. I've been an indie artist for over 5 years now. And I learned a lot since I started out. And a lot of that actually is about being female and about being Asian American. And I didn't realize that going in. Like, I didn't realize so many things looking back now about this industry and the role I chose within the industry. And just like, I don't know how many people realize this, because I definitely didn't, but like, first of all, being an indie artist, you have to be like super entrepreneurial. And it's basically running your own small business. Yeah, you have to wear all the hats. You're wearing like 10 plus different hats day to day.
The marketing, you got to do the branding, you got to do the messaging, you got to do the
graphic
packaging,
design.
you got to do the publicity, do the PR, you got to do that's not even the music part. And then you got to do get on all the platforms, all the technical aspects, right? And then doing something like this.
Yeah, I mean, this is fun, right? Because like, you're here, we get to talk and we get to interact with whoever's listening. But yeah, the other stuff day to day can be really grueling. And to be honest, like, I'm still figuring out the balance myself, but there's a long period of time usually where like I don't get to touch my instrument. I don't get to be creative and do the stuff I love most, like write songs. Like, it's not very fun.
Now, if I recall correctly,
yeah,
you have the hidden talent that you're a really good writer, a technical writer, and you're a really good writer, if I remember correctly.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess like that's part of why I do handle so much of it myself. I kind of am an all-around creative. Like, I grew up reading so much, and I went to school and studied. I actually studied, one of my majors was English literature.
What was the other one? One of your majors? You triple majored?
Just double majored. I didn't know what I was doing in college either, guys. So I just ended up doing like the majors that I had the most class credits in, but it was English and Asian studies.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that was my other major. And yeah, so I guess I am kind of an all-around creative because like I love music, obviously, but I traditionally as a kid loved language and I loved reading, and that I think that writing side is very natural to me, which is why songwriting is like one of the biggest parts for me within music too. And I also grew up doing art. I did a lot of art growing up, so I definitely like have this whole visual affinity that makes me basically be like too controlling about all my graphics and my videos and stuff. But I think like, yeah, it's a choice whether or not you do that yourself or you hire out. But yeah, when you're an indie artist, a lot of the time, especially starting out, you don't have a lot of funding, and that comes into the whole entrepreneurial side. You know, if you don't have funding or investors or whatever, what a label traditionally covers, you're self-funded, you know. And so things as an indie artist are expensive.
Oh yeah, it's like quite tight. At least $10,000 to do it, all the studios and all that jazz.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So you end up being an entrepreneur and taking up a role in an industry. And if you're not like already a producer or an engineer where you have the skills and the means to also offer a service, right? You already have a built-in clientele. When you take on the role of an artist, you are trying to create demand in a market where there isn't one yet, right? You're trying to create a demand for your art. And you're also like, I don't know, I just more and more realize I'm like, oh, I'm in this industry where there is just no business plan. You're in this like business where there's no business plan. And then the industry itself is like not really selling
It's a whole new
product.
landscape. It's a whole new, like the wild, wild west, right?
Yeah, there's no product to sell. There's no value for your product. People say, it's really interesting nowadays, your music is your business card, you know? And then, so you give it out for free and it's supposed to say something, but you have to have all this other stuff to
Yeah, merch
really,
and all these all these other things, which we will get to. But this
yeah.
is and I want to get to what the moment that everyone's waiting for, which is you're gonna play something for us.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Oh,
which
can I
song
share
you
really quick
decided?
something though?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't have to though, if you're like tired of talking about this.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say, so part of the process with Slow Bloom was it's basically almost all self-produced. So like
Wow.
part of the difficulty in being female and being Asian American is you also realize, or I realized at least, like what it is to walk into a system that is more traditionally against you, right? There isn't a lot of representation. There isn't a lot of network laid out for you. And I don't think people realize how male dominated the industry is, especially behind doors, but even front facing. So USC actually released a really cool study since 2018. They started doing it after the Me Too movement, I think, was really gaining traction. And so someone within USC's School of Music, the Annenberg School, decided to do kind of a statistical survey of women in music. And so I found it, for me, really illuminating in basically how, like, no wonder it's been so hard to find people to work with, because like only 2.6% of women are producers, you know. So if I want
Wow.
to work with,
Is it 2.6%?
right, yeah, 2.6% of women. And then if I want to work with a woman of color, right, someone who's similar to me or my background, that's even less. So that would be like, let me see, I think I mentioned this. Oh, it's like less than 0.5% to find another
Wow.
woman of color producer to work with. And I didn't know the statistics, but I just knew after working with people and trying to work with all these different people, which by default are a lot of men, um, it would always fall apart for some reason, you know? And I don't think I don't want to like label anything, but a lot of the times I think it does have to do with those gender differences and these different ideas of respect and boundaries. And so I just ended up being like, I have to know how to do this myself, and I have to learn this technical side, even though like at the heart of it, and when I started out, it was about loving to write songs and sing. But all that recording and the business side, like I had to know. I felt like it was a requirement for me to be able to express myself the way I wanted to, and to put out what I wanted to, and yeah, just like have a real chance for myself. That is what led me to learning production and engineering and mixing. And that's why I have, that's what I did with Slow Bloom. And that's maybe why it took so
Wow.
long.
You had to do it all. And I had no idea. I mean, I knew that it was male dominated, but I didn't know it was that male dominated. And wow,
Yeah, here
that's insane.
I can share the link in the chat really quick here, and if you want to share it later on Facebook. But it's really, really illuminating. Like even if you look at and they're looking at, it's kind of I think an illustration of basically like, you know, who is traditionally in seats of power, and who then proliferates networks of power. Because I think people have this skewed idea that it's more even nowadays, because there are certain females that are really famous, and
Mhm.
they
Right,
sell
like
a
you
lot of
think like Nicki
records.
Minaj, or you think Christina Aguilera, or Mariah Carey, and you think, wow, there's equality.
Right, because they're doing it and they're alone. But I think it also says a lot that they are like these one name divas, right?
Mm.
And it's kind of like, oh, they kind of have to step out as a solo artist, because it's a lot harder to create a network in a band, right? How many female bands are there versus male bands as a female? And then, yeah, you actually see, so they evaluate based off of a lot of the top artists in Billboard and across different charts. And it's actually only like 12.5% women are credited as songwriters, 21.7, so about a fifth, you know, are artists. There's also actually this really great Instagram account called, let me see if I can find it for you guys really quick. I think it's called Book More Women. And what they do is they take playbills of like all the huge festivals, Coachella, and then even other festivals like Bottle Rock or metal ones or country ones. And they erase all the names that don't include at least one woman, even if it's a band, right? So they leave anything that has at least one woman in the group. And a lot of the times, all you have left are just like a handful of names and all this empty space. And the rest are all male dominated.
Well, look at that. See right here. 8 out of 1,093 producing credits went to women of color. That's a staggering stat right there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like this is, I think the one I sent you was maybe from this year. So just 2 years ago, it was like half that amount.
Wow.
Here's the Instagram account where they visually show you on a playbill how many acts contain one woman at the least, you know? Like if it's like even if it's a band of like 4 men and 1 woman, they'll put it in, but it's still so empty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let there's the Instagram. Book More Women, and people can go check it out.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think this is the moment we're all waiting for, which is your time to shine. So.
Okay. I guess that means play your song.
I think that I want to say, I mean, this is a very astounding, staggering thing that for you to pursue this in light of all the gender barriers. This is very difficult. And I'm sorry I was kind of pushing the song because looking at the time.
Yeah, of course. No. I was totally teasing. I was.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I'm sorry because I didn't know if you got. I didn't want. I didn't want.
No,
to
I'm
like
very hard to find. I'm always joking, like pretty
okay.
much. So, like, please don't take it seriously. I was totally kidding. Here, let me just get set up. I have my other mic, and I'm gonna actually switch my sound system over.
Okay. So yeah, well, I want to look over this. I'm gonna go back and look at this as you get ready. I'm gonna look over this this chart over here, and I want to have our audience see what is going on. So yeah, look at this. Females are missing in popular music. 7.3% of bands are female. Ratio of male to female producers 37-1. The songwriters 12%. Wow. This is and women of color, that's even more staggering. So this it's almost depressing. But it makes me happy. I have the honor and privilege of having you on, because I think we all need to, especially so you have that double strike, right? Being a female artist and being a person of color. Can't even imagine how difficult that is. So now, for those who are interested in her music, she's on all the major platforms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can find her on Spotify, on YouTube, on all the major platforms, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Are you ready?
Okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah, my website is, I think Eric's got it all taken care of, but my website has all the links. And I actually I've been live streaming on this new app called Sessions. I can share the link with that if people are interested too. But I stream basically every Thursday at 8 p.m. So it kind of looks like this.
Yeah, we got Grace saying that it's amazing how many hats you wear, and you're amazing.
Oh, thanks, Grace. Oh, happy belated birthday, by the way. I've been meaning to send you a message. But
All right, well, I'm gonna remove myself right now, and here you go.
okay, cool. Well, thank you, Eric, for those kind words. And I don't mean to like hit anyone over the head with all that stuff, but I just think it's like, yeah, really illuminating. And for me, it actually was like kind of encouraging because I was like, I know this is hard, but why is it like so hard? Um, so yeah, it gave me some perspective too on what was going on. Anyway, so this song I'm going to play for you guys is from the record, and it's for everyone out there who is feeling tired and sad. Um, I hope I hope this maybe it gives you some comfort and can reflect how you feel. This is called Here Anymore. Oh wait, let me check that one string. Sorry, tuning is always a thing. Okay. Just adjusting. The birds have all fled the trees. Bitter stones rot in the ground. And what does that leave for me? But to close my eyes, ash to grove leveling. Does anyone hear anymore? Does anyone stay any longer than a minute, than an hour, than a day? Is anyone here anymore? Our palms lie barren and bruised from fields buried in thirst. How to say and hear anymore? Does anyone stay any longer than a minute, than an hour, than a day? Is anyone here anymore? Ah, 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 Does anyone hear anymore? Does anyone stay any longer than a minute, than an hour, than a day? Is anyone here anymore?
Wow, thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Now, how can our last question here? How can people support you? Where can they find? We talked about where they can find your music. Do you have Venmo, Patreon, or where can they purchase your music? Do you have merch? How can we? I know that this takes financial support and it's an investment in you as an artist. So how can we do that?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for asking. It's super appreciated. And yeah, as an indie artist, anything, whether it's just like internet support or financial, it all really, really helps. So here, let me share this link with you. Maybe that's the easiest. It's my link tree.
Okay.
And for anyone who doesn't know, a link tree is like a quick link where you have little tabs for different websites.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I made it so that like anyone who wants to support, they can pick anything that they want to do there. So there's options to like leave a tip on my PayPal. There's also this cute app called Ko-fi, I think, where you can like buy me a coffee. I also list my like Patreon and merch store. My music links.
Everything's there. Everything's there.
Yeah, if you just want to stream the music, you can click through. So here is my link tree.
Okay, all right. Let me share that right now. And yeah, any last comments that or words of exhortation or encouragement you want to share with the audience?
Well, if you want to keep in touch, definitely follow me on socials. Say hello. I'd love to get to know you guys, and I always appreciate people letting me know like what resonates with them. And let's see, last words. I think yeah, I just hope everyone's doing okay out there. And like I think everyone is navigating this really strange time in so many different ways, health-wise, socially. And I feel like the best thing to do is like engage when you can, but also take care of yourself, however that may be. And hopefully, collectively, we're all just becoming more conscious of what this means, right? Like what it means to healthily engage with ourselves, as well as things we care about and what we want to see in the world. And yeah, so I thank you again for having me on. Quick shout out, other than like all the music stuff, is that I have an Asian American music blog too. If you want to discover other Asian American artists, it's called The Sound Off with 3 F's at the end. And I also love to help record and produce other artists, especially female artists, given the state of how things are and knowing how difficult it was for me to find someone that was comfortable to work with. Now that I have like all this engineering and mixing experience, I'd love to lend those skills and work with anyone else who is looking for some help there. So I have my studio, it's vitokastudios.com. So you can definitely hit me up there too.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I think they can Google that. So again, thank you so much. It was such an honor to have you, and I'm just so happy that I got a chance to support an Asian American artist So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me, Eric. Really
All right, bye.
appreciate it.
Bye. Wow, so I learned something new today that, of course, I knew that women and women of color have challenges, but I had no idea it was to that extent. So please support Mesmi. She has great music, as you saw today. And head up on YouTube, look up on social media, Instagram. And thank you guys so much for your time. This is Eric with Everyday Faith. I am out.